What is going on, Pokemon collectors and investors? Today we have more singles hitting all-time highs, more booster boxes hitting all-time highs. We're going to start with the singles, then we're going to move into a set of booster boxes, and then a few singles at the end. So make sure you stay tuned for the whole video. There's some interesting gains happening here, some very interesting price points. But we're going to start off with the Umbreon V from Evolving Skies. This was always like the lesser Moonbreon. If you're not familiar, this card ran up when we had the alt art boom back in May. But just in the past 3 months, it's up 41%. This cracked $200. And this is a very interesting price point for this card. As Evolving Skies booster boxes continue to run, we're seeing $1,100, $1,200 sales. It was only a matter of time, right, that some of the lesser cards finally started to move. And while it is a lesser card, this artwork is actually really stunning. It's a super nice card. And PokeRev back here talked about this card being that he preferred it over the actual Moonbreon. And that was a contributing factor as to why this ran up. It went up to 193. Okay, before that it was an $80 card. Now, what's very interesting is we just surpassed this. It also set a higher low, which is something that you usually really want to see. It shows a lot of strength. It settled out at a low of 140. So essentially, it went from 80 to 140, and now we're seeing 205. There's only 21 copies available on TCG Player, so this card's set to run a little bit more. Last solds, 204, 220, 194. I think this is a PSA 10 sale here at 400. Then we got 224, 190, 208, 200, 200, 200. So very solidly a $200 card. If you look at picking one up from a starred seller right here, the lowest listed is 225. So that would jump this up even a little bit more over this $200 mark. When these cards eclipse these old highs, these were the highs right here in April, May, June. Some of the cards, they staggered when they came up, but it was all in that little time frame. People said this was a bubble, this is gonna pop, it's never gonna get back to here. Well, surpassing those prices, it's one of those price points that I think is extremely fascinating. And with the market being what it is, the strength that it is, I think we're gonna see these cards for at least the foreseeable future until this market cools off, and who knows when that could be. They're going to continue to run, right? And especially with 21 copies available. Let's do, for a second, let's just go to the second page. Let's see what kind of, after that, there's a few sales, and then we're at 250. And then a few sales, and we're at 330 on this Umbreon V. So that's what I'm talking about. In this market, things are moving lightning fast. So that's the Umbreon V. Also, PSA 10 sales. We had a raw copy right here sell for 280. They're claiming PSA 10 quality. Be careful with that. If that was PSA 10 quality, the seller should have graded that. But this is now a $500 PSA 10 copy. And right here, so we got 500, 500. Somebody right here, somebody listed without checking what the current market was. This happens all the time. Somebody just bought it now right away at 274. They literally got it for almost half price. Before that, 480, 480, 500. Very solidly a $500 card. Now there's also another Umbreon moving. This is from the Brilliant Stars Trainer Gallery. This is the VMAX, not the V. It's up 40%. While dollar-wise, it's not going to be quite as big of a jump because back here this was like a $30 card, but we are seeing it pretty much at 50 bucks. Last sold's 53, 50. Before that, a few in the 30s, and then 58, 58, 59, 46. So nice to see these trainer gallery cards going up. I know that they're easier to pull, but a lot of these trainer gallery cards are really nice, and it's just nice to see. 22 copies available on TCG as well. So if you want to pick one up, you're looking at 75, which would be well above market. So get your Umbreon VMAXs while you can. Just another one that's shooting up, right? If we look at the 1 year, this is one that hasn't gotten back to that big boom. Back here, it was a $20 card. It ran up to 60. So we're getting close. And if we get to that $75 mark, obviously we'll eclipse this. And that's what you want to see. But for identifying if a card is healthy, setting higher lows. Now, this is kind of like a stock term when you're reading the charts. Setting higher lows is really strong. So when you go from 20, you have a big run up, you cool off in the 30s. That shows that there's enough demand for the card, and the price did tick up. So this is something I look at when I'm looking at cards. If you see it get back to this price, shows there's not really a lot of interest. It was just a little poof in the market, right? So that's something I look at when identifying a card price. Then we got my boy Charizard. This is from Brilliant Stars, the best artwork we've ever gotten in a Charizard. Uh, my opinion, art is subjective. I get it. There's a lot of people who like other ones. Uh, leave a comment. Let me know what your favorite Charizard artwork of all time is. I just love everything about it fighting the Venusaur. I won't go too deep into it, but getting to another interesting price point. 46% growth in the past 3 months. Also, PSA 10 prices are getting to a point, we'll touch on that in a second. But this card went from 130 up to pretty much just below 200. The last sold was a little lower at 175. There's even a 140, but before that, 209, 209, 202, 200, 200. Now, it's actually at the exact price point where I said, raw, this should be at least, at minimum, a $200 card. And the PSA 10, I said it should be at least $500. I know that the pop report is high. It's not nearly as high as some of the other cards, not as nearly as high as the Umbreon, right? But I knew that it could do good. I just knew it. I had faith in it, right? So if we zoom out right here, this is, and once again, it didn't look super healthy when I'm talking about setting a higher low. It went from 114, 116 up to 200 and came back down to only 120. So I thought this card got hit really hard. I think there was some Charizard fatigue playing a factor, but we are seeing it get back up to pretty much just below that $200 mark. So if we can see this past 200 raw, there is 68 copies available, so more than some of the other cards. If you want to pick one up, there's actually someone listing one for less than market at 171. But after that, for another starred seller, you're looking at 195. So looks like maybe it might hold at this point, but it's nice to see it at least going up some in value. I just absolutely love the artwork. But if you want to talk about PSA 10 prices, we're right on the cusp. Last sold's 465, 440, 430, 430, and before that it was in the 300s. So yeah, nice to see that on the Charizard. If you came for the booster boxes, we're about to touch on the booster boxes, so don't go away. And then we're gonna jump back to some Evolving Skies cards and some other cards that are popping off right now as well. Some of the lesser cards doing good, so just make sure you stay tuned for that. But real quick before we go any further, shameless plug. We got the website going. I 3D print these stands for PSA cards, any graded card. I got them all. If you wanted just a cool shirt, we got the Charizard Gyarados here. We got some stickers. Anyways, just if you wanted to check it out and support me. If not, no worries. I 3D print these stands myself. Just trying to transition to. I'd love to, switch over everything to full time. So if you purchase something, just give me a little bit extra time to ship it out. But anyways, it's not what this video is about. I just wanted to, I'm working on the website. By the way, we're gonna get it better. I know it's looking a little plain Jane and basic, but we're gonna keep moving. We got Lost Origin at 400. 400. Lost Origin caveat here. My most heavily invested Sword and Shield set. It's at over 400 a box. The market says 360, but if you look at these last solds, 420, 400, 412. Before that, 400, 390, 350, 400, 400, 400, and then before that, a few in the threes. Lost Origin, 60%. We're up 60% on this box in the past 3 months. Yeah, 3 months ago it was 220. We'll zoom out to the 1 year so you guys can see that growth. 162% growth. A year ago, this was below MSRP. When I purchased my boxes, I saw that, actually I bought most of mine, not all, but most of mine from the Pokemon Center. And that was at MSRP 143. Right before it shot up, right before this point right here. So yeah, that's another thing. It's tougher to do now in the market, and obviously you want to get them before. Obviously, you wanted to get back here, right? You wanted to get even cheaper, but when you can identify that a set's about to sell out on Pokemon Center, it does indicate a buying point for the most part, with some exceptions. But Lost Origin was a great example of that because it did run up to 220 fairly quickly, cooled off for a little bit. There was like a big restock that happened at Distro, but yeah, it's ran up quite a bit, $400 a box. So yeah, let's see if you wanted to pick one up. You're exactly at market of 400. Yeah, so median listed is 437, so it might shoot up a little bit more in the in the near future. Still, I feel like what baffles me about these, and we got Fusion Strike at 500. This was kind of already on the cusp, but I feel like I talk about a series of topics over here, and then I go back and I'm like, okay, let me check what's going on with the stuff I talked about a few days ago, and it's like, oh, they made massive moves, and that's how crazy the market is. But Fusion Strike 500. Now I'm basing that off of just this last sale. There's one right here. There's a 497 here. There's a 497 here. Before that, we're seeing 470s and pretty much 450s. There is another 500 down here, excuse me, and a 490. I got, I think I ate something's on getting me a little bit. But if you want to pick one up right here, starred seller, you are at 497. I'm gonna round up and I'm gonna call that 500. I know, okay, technically it's not, but 500, especially if you're paying tax on that, you're definitely over 500. Jealous of you guys who do not have to pay sales tax where you live. 126% growth. Yeah, just 3 months ago it was 212. We'll zoom out to the 1 year. This chart, the chart's a little bit broken right here. Sometimes TCG charts don't work all the way, but a year ago it was just barely above MSRP. Also, if you're newer to the hobby, Fusion Strike, upon release, upon the first year, was not heavily regarded as a top tier set. It really was not. So that's something just to keep in mind that can happen, right? We could see that with some sets from the Scarlet and Violet era. I was seeing, I like to bring this up. There was a creator who was doing shorts, YouTube shorts, like in TikToks every day, where he would be literally sitting on the toilet, ripping a Fusion Strike pack one day. That's, I guess the set was the toilet set. I don't know. For that creator, it was. But anyways, yeah, so Fusion Strike, 500. Lost Origin, 400. Chilling Rain, 300. Chilling Rain to 300, 41% growth. They're all, I mean, they're all doing pretty much the same thing at this point. 217 up to 300. The chart, it went up. It was a year ago, 160, which was above MSRP. Chilling Rain was ahead of some of these other sets. Went up to 219, came back down to 200, and now, obviously, in the bull market, it's shooting up. There's 72 boxes on TCG. We got one more booster box, and then we're going to go back to some singles. These are loose packs. These are loose packs. If you want to pick one up, you're actually at, from a starred seller, you're at 380 on TCG, which would bring it well above this market price. The last solds, there is already been a few 380 sales here. And then you got these, most likely these loose packs in here, usually when they have photos. So yeah, it seems like Chilling Rain's on its way to 400. Just a matter of time at this point. So Chilling Rain on its way up. But then we have Brilliant Stars hitting like 250, 260. Not as good. You look at it, it's like everything with like such massive gains, and you're like, oh, poor Brilliant. No, but Brilliant's doing really well. They're all doing well. 35% growth from 180 up to 250, with last solds being higher. 263, 263, 275. There's even some 280 sales in here. So it seems like Brilliant's going to be possibly the next one to go to 300. And this is why. Listed median price, $374. You want to pick one up? You're looking at $290 plus, $10 shipping. And we're pretty much there already. For these next sales, just have to sell. And then Brilliant Stars will be a $300 box on TCG Player. And then probably continuing to climb with this median price listed at $374. That is going to continue to drive the Charizard up, the PSA 10 price, the raw price. So that is nice to see for the Charizard, my favorite Charizard artwork. So that's it for the booster boxes. We're going to jump back to some singles, okay? We have the, so this is an alternate art from Evolving Skies, the Rayquaza. So they got the VMAX, right? That's like over 500. Then you got the V. Now the V is starting to pop off right now as well. Also, super love this card. I like the trainer cards with the Pokemon. The pose of the Rayquaza, the Whimsor, just like scared right here. This is a nice card. So it's nice to see this one popping off. It's a stunning card. 45% growth. Back here it was, we're on the 6-month chart because the 3-month was bugging out. 6 months ago, this was 111. It did dip down as low as 100, and we shot up to like 160 market. Last solds are a little less than that, 150, 160, 150, 150. Then we got a 185. Even 200 sales down here. This was actually back in December on the 31st. So we'll see where this one ends up. 29 copies available, which is not a lot. You want to pick one up right now, you're at 170, which would be just a little bit above MSRP, and then just a few more sales, and you're getting closer to 200, which would make sense if you're comparing it to the VMAX. This even at 200, it wouldn't even be half the price. So something to consider there if you're looking at picking up some of these cards. 1 year, once again, super healthy chart. You want to see this. This was $73 back here. In the alt art boom, it ran up to 150. Came back down to a low of 100, and now obviously at 160, potentially pushing up to 200 on the Rayquaza V. Just a nice trainer card there. Then we got, this is probably, I feel like this, I know Evolving Skies, tons of attention. This is possibly my favorite art from the set and one of the most underrated cards from the set, I feel like. It's an alternate art, extremely difficult to pull from the set. It's just up 25%, so not as much compared to some of the other cards, but I love Dragonite, and the Sleepy Dragonite is so nice. We pulled this on the channel way back in the day, but it went 140 up to 180 just in the past 3 months. The bull market really helping this card out. Now, you see, we've not gotten back to the previous high right here. A year ago, it was sub 100, had its run up to almost 200. Came back down to 126, and now we're up to 180. So, I mean, once again, probably just a matter of time. 35 copies available. Last solds, we're seeing 175, 191. This might have been a PSA 10 sale. 180, 191. So this is creeping up to 200 as well. The Dragonite, absolutely love this card. Yeah, so picking one up, you're already at 190, then 193, then pretty much 200. So Dragonite's going to 200. Really makes sense when you think about the box prices. We're also finally seeing some movement on the Leafeon with Prismatic, with everything going on with Prismatic. Man, and the pull rates being so difficult on Prismatic, it's, you know, that's going to be very interesting. I wonder if, could there have been a batching issue with Prismatic with what, I don't know. Not likely, but possible. Sometimes if you're not aware, there are batching issues where you have one, like a batch that has really good pull rates and a batch that doesn't. Like when they put the packs in, it gets screwed up. We have seen that with lots of other product. It does happen. So with the Prismatic pull rates, if they're as brutal, like nearing even remotely close to Evolving Skies, things are going to be wild for singles price. But we're not talking about that right now. We got the Leafeon VMAX, the giant Leafeon, playing with one of these giant bales of hay. If you've ever seen these, these are huge. So I like this card a lot. But it's up 23%. It went from 250 up to 320 on the Leafeon. If we look at the 1 year, it hasn't gotten back to this high yet, but back here was 160 a year ago. 355 was the peak before, and then it came back down to 260. So we're finally seeing the rebound. It was a slow descent from June to, honestly, November is when it bottomed out, early November, and now we're on the steady climb on the Leafeon. 22 copies available. Last solds, 360. I'm going to ignore these. I don't know what these ones are, so we're going to go with the regular sales. 360, 360, 300, 360, 350. So 350, 360 market price seems about right. That would bump this up even a little bit over what it's displaying here. Lowest listed right now is 360, so that actually matches the current market price for the Leafeon. That would make sense. Then lastly, last card of the day. Very similar story. Now this card is actually from Fusion Strike. You'd think it would have been in Evolving Skies. And that's part of what makes Prismatic very interesting, I think, because you actually have all the evolutions in one set with nice arts. The Sleeping Espeon VMAX on a building. Love this card. It's a great other card from Fusion Strike. It's kind of similar to the Leafeon, I feel like, with what's happening right now. It's only up 25%. And 25% is massive, by the way. It's like in this market, you go, oh, it's only up 25%. When you're seeing like 40, 50, 100% gains on some other cards. Yeah, I'm not trying to downplay it. It's just that's what the market's at right now. 3 months ago, this was 180, and now we're seeing 240. Most recent sales at 300. Before that, pretty much consistently 240s, 250s, very consistent. 49 copies available, so a little bit more than some of the other ones. If we look at the 1 year, you're going to see it's not at that peak yet. It did set a higher low. A year ago, though, this was a $120 card. Had it shoot up to around 340. So we're getting close with this 300 recent sale, if that updates. And then it came down. It kind of did that slow decline. It looks like end of October was the low. Since then, we've been seeing a climb on it. Yeah, so about 190 was the kind of the end. 184, 185, 190, and then it's shot up from there. Yeah, so 240 if you want to pick one up now, which is actually below these recent sales. There's quite a few here, so maybe this is going to stagnate around 250. I'm not sure. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on, because it looks like, yeah, these sales would be high if that, like I said, there's a little bit more copies than some of the other cards available, so You know, that does make sense on there. So in summary, lots of Evolving Skies singles. It started the lesser singles starting to move, so that's nice to see. Kind of seemed like maybe just a matter of time for some of those cards. Booster boxes hitting more all-time highs. It's like every few days, every week at this point, they're just chugging along. So, yeah, Sword and Shield doing very well. Scarlet and Violet doing very well. I feel like it's the carousel effect. I've talked about this before, but with Sword and Shield getting so high, if you ever watched a kid on a carousel, you know, you watch them until they go around the back, you can't see them anymore, and then you kind of see, oh, what's the next thing coming around until, right? And with Sword and Shield being expensive, then Scarlet Violet's going to come around, then Scarlet Violet gets expensive, and then you go to Sword and Shield. It's like kind of back and forth right now, especially with the new sets with Prismatic. But that's all I got for you guys in this one. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I appreciate all of you guys watching. If you made it to the end game gang, and I did this last time, end gang, end game, end. Leave a comment, end gang, like end game. I know. For those of you who know, you know. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, and remember, it was never a phase.